Now, the leaders of the Israelites moved into the city of Jerusalem. The other Israelites had to decide who else would move into the city, so they threw lots, and 1 out of every 10 people had to live in Jerusalem, the holy city. The other 9 people could live in their own hometowns. Some people volunteered to live in Jerusalem. The other people thanked and blessed them for volunteering. Here are the leaders of the provinces who lived in Jerusalem. Some of the Israelites, priests, Levites, temple servants, and descendants of Solomon's servants lived in the towns of Judah. Everyone lived on their own land in the different towns. And other people from the families of Judah and Benjamin lived in the city of Jerusalem. These are the descendants of Judah who moved into Jerusalem: Athaiah, son of Uzziah, the son of Zechariah, who was the son of Amariah, who was the son of Shephatiah, who was the son of Mahalalel, who was the descendant of Perez, and Maaseiah, son of Barak, the son of Kolhozah, who was the son of Haziah, who was the son of Adaiah, who was the son of Joiarib, who was the son of Zechariah, who was the descendant of Shelah. The number of Perez's descendants living in Jerusalem was 468. All of them were brave men. These are the descendants of Benjamin who moved into Jerusalem: Sallu, son of Meshullam, the son of Joed, who was the son of Pedaiah, who was the son of Kaliah, who was the son of Maaseiah, who was the son of Ithiel, who was the son of Jeshiah. And those who followed Jeshiah were Gabbai and Sallai. Altogether, there were 928 men. Joel, son of Zichri, was in charge of them. And Judah, son of Hasenuah, was in charge of the second district of the city of Jerusalem. These are the priests who moved into Jerusalem: Jedaiah, son of Joiarib, Jachin, and Sariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, who was the son of Zadok, who was the son of Merioth, who was the son of Ahitub, who was the supervisor in the temple of God, and 822 men of their brothers that did the work for the temple: and Adaiah, son of Jehoram, the son of Pelaliah, who was the son of Amzai, who was the son of Zechariah, who was the son of Pashur, who was the son of Malchijah, and 242 men who were Adaiah's brothers, leaders of their families: Amashai, son of Azarel, the son of Azai, who was the son of Meshillemah, who was the son of Immer, and 128 of Amashai's brothers. These men were brave soldiers. The officer over them was Zabdiel, son of Haggedolim. These are the Levites who moved into Jerusalem: Shemaiah, son of Hashab, the son of Azrikam, who was the son of Hashabiah, who was the son of Bunai, Shabbathai and Jozabad, 2 of the leaders of the Levites in charge of the outside work of God's temple. Mattaniah, the son of Micah, who was the son of Zabdi, who was the son of Asaph, the director who led the people in singing songs of praise and prayer. Bakbukiah, the second in charge over his brothers, and Abda, son of Shammua, the son of Galal, who was the son of Jeduthun. So there were 284 Levites who moved into Jerusalem, the holy city. These are the gatekeepers who moved into Jerusalem: Akub, Talman, and 172 of their brothers. They watched and guarded the gates of the city. The other Israelites and the other priests and Levites lived in all the towns of Judah. Everyone lived on the land that their ancestors had owned. The temple servants lived on the hill of Ophel. Ziah and Gishpa were in charge of the temple servants. The officer over the Levites in Jerusalem was Uzziah. Uzziah was the son of Bani, the son of Hashabiah, who was the son of Mattaniah, who was the son of Micah. Uzziah was a descendant of Asaph. Asaph's descendants were the singers who were responsible for the service in God's temple. The singers obeyed the orders from the king, which told them what to do from day to day. Pethahiah, son of Meshezabel, told the people what the king wanted done. Meshezabel was one of the descendants of Zerah. Zerah was Judah's son. The people of Judah lived in these towns: in Kiriath Arba, and the small towns around it; in Dibon, and the small towns around it; in Jacobzeel, and the small towns around it; and in Jeshua, in Malada, in Beth Pelet, in Hazar Shual, in Beersheba, and the small towns around it; and in Ziklag, in Mechanah, and the small towns around it; and in En-Rimmon, in Zorah, in Jarmuth. and in Zanoah, and Adullam, and the small towns around them, in Lachish, and the fields around it, and in Azekah, and the small towns around it. So the people of Judah were living all the way from Beersheba to the valley of Hinnom. The descendants of the family of Benjamin from Geba lived in Michmash, Ijah, Bethel, and the small towns around it, in Anathoth, Nob, Ananiah, in Hazor, Ramah, in Gidaim, in Hadid, Zeboim, in Nebalat, in Lod and Ono, and in the valley of the craftsmen. Some of the groups from the family of Levi moved to the land of Benjamin. These are the priests and Levites who came back to the land of Judah. They came back with Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua. This is a list of their names: Sariah, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Malach, Haddish, Shechaniah, Reum, Meremoth, Iddo, Ginnathan, Abijah, Mijamin, Madiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Jeorib, Jediah, Salu, Amok, Hilkiah, and Jediah. These men were the leaders of the priests and their relatives in the days of Jeshua. The Levites were Jeshua, Benui, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Judah, and also Mattaniah. These men, with Mattaniah's relatives, were in charge of the songs of praise to God. Bakbukiah and Unai were the relatives of those Levites. These two men stood across from them in the services. Jeshua was the father of Joachim. Joachim was the father of Eliashib. Eliashib was the father of Joiada. Joiada was the father of Jonathan, and Jonathan was the father of Jaddua. In the days of Joachim, these men were the leaders of the families of priests. The leader of Sariah's family was Moriah. The leader of Jeremiah's family was Hananiah. The leader of Ezra's family was Meshullam. The leader of Amariah's family was Jehohanan. The leader of Malach's family was Jonathan. The leader of Shechaniah's family was Joseph. The leader of Harim's family was Adnah. The leader of Meremoth's family was Hilkiah. The leader of Iddo's family was Zechariah. The leader of Ginnathan's family was Meshullam. The leader of Abijah's family was Zichri. The leader of Manamin and Madiah's families was Piltai. The leader of Bilgah's family was Shemua. The leader of Shemaiah's family was Jehonathan. The leader of Joirib's family was Mattaniah. The leader of Jediah's family was Uzai. The leader of Salu's family was Kalai. The leader of Amok's family was Eber. The leader of Hilkiah's family was Hashabiah. The leader of Jediah's family was Nathaniel. The names of the leaders of the families of the Levites and the priests in the days of Eliashib, Joiada, Jehohanan, and Jaddua were written down during the rule of Darius, the Persian king. The family leaders among the descendants of the Levites, and up to the time of Jehohanan, son of Eliashib, were written in the history book. And these were the leaders of the Levites: Hashabiah, Sherebiah, Jeshua, son of Kadmiel, and their brothers. Their brothers stood across from them to sing praise and honor to God. One group answered the other group. That is what was commanded by David, the man of God. The gatekeepers who guarded the storerooms next to the gates were Mattaniah, Bakbukiah, Obadiah, Meshullam, Talmon, and Akib. They served in the days of Joachim. Joachim was the son of Jeshua, who was the son of Jozadak. And the gatekeepers also served in the days of Nehemiah, the governor, and in the days of Ezra, the priest and teacher. The first people to come back and live in their own lands and towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and servants who work in the temple. These are the people from the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh, who lived in Jerusalem. Uthai was Ammihud's son. Ammihud was Omri's son. Omri was Imri's son. Imri was Bani's son. Bani was a descendant of Perez. Perez was Judas' son. The Shilonites who lived in Jerusalem were Asaiah, the oldest son, and his sons. The Zerahites who lived in Jerusalem were Jeuel and their relatives. There were 690 of them in all. These are the people from the tribe of Benjamin who lived in Jerusalem. Salu was Meshullam's son. Meshullam was Hodaviah's son. Hodaviah was Hatsanuah's son. Ibniah was Jeroam's son. Elah was Uzzi's son. Uzzi was Michri's son. And Meshullam was Shephatiah's son. Shephatiah was Reuel's son. Reuel was Ibnijah's son. The family history of Benjamin shows there were 956 of them living in Jerusalem. All these men were leaders in their families. These are the priests who lived in Jerusalem: Jedaiah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, and Azariah. Azariah was Hilkiah's son. Hilkiah was Meshullam's son. Meshullam was Zadok's son. Zadok was Merioth's son. Merioth was Ahitub's son. Ahitub was the important official responsible for God's temple. Also, there was Jeroham's son, Adiah. Jeroham was Pashur's son. Pashur was Malchijah's son. And there was Adil's son, Masai. Adil was Jezerah's son. Jezerah was Meshullam's son. Meshullam was Meshellemith's son. Meshellemith was Imer's son. There were 1,760 priests. They were leaders of their families. They were responsible for the work of serving in God's temple. These are the people from the tribe of Levi who lived in Jerusalem. Hashub's son, Shemaiah. Hashub was Azrikam's son. Azrikam was Hashabiah's son. Hashabiah was a descendant of Merari. Also living in Jerusalem were Bekbacher, Harish, Galal, and Mattaniah. Mattaniah was Micah's son. Micah was Zichri's son. Zichri was Asaph's son. Obadiah was Shemaiah's son. Shemaiah was Galal's son. Galal was Jeduthun's son. Berechiah was Asa's son. Asa was Elkanah's son. Berechiah lived in the small towns near the people of Nineveh. These are the gatekeepers who lived in Jerusalem: Shallum, Akub, Talmon, Ahiman, and their relatives. Shallum was their leader. Now these men stand next to the king's gate on the east side. They were the gatekeepers from the tribe of Levi. Shallum was Korah's son. Korah was Abiasaph's son. Abiasaph was Korah's son. Shallum and his brothers were gatekeepers. They were from the family of Korah. They had the job of guarding the entrance to the holy tent. They did this just as their ancestors had done before them. Their ancestors had the job of guarding the entrance to the area where the Lord lived among the people. In the past, Phinehas was in charge of the gatekeepers. Phinehas was Eleazar's son. The Lord was with Phinehas. Zechariah, son of Meshelemiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance of the holy tent. In all, there were 212 men who were chosen to guard the gates of the holy tent. Their names were written in their family histories in their small towns. David and Samuel the seer chose these men because they could be trusted. The gatekeepers and their descendants had the responsibility of guarding the gates of the Lord's house, the holy tent. There were gates on the four sides: east, west, north, and south. The gatekeepers' relatives who lived in the small towns had to come and help them at certain times. They came and helped the gatekeepers for 7 days each time. There were 4 gatekeepers who were the leaders of all the gatekeepers. They were Levites. They had the job of caring for the rooms and treasures in God's temple. They stayed up all night guarding God's temple, and they had the job of opening God's temple every morning. Some of the gatekeepers had the job of caring for the dishes used in the temple services. They counted them when they were brought in. They also counted these dishes when they were taken out. Other gatekeepers were chosen to care for the furniture and the special dishes. They also took care of the flour, wine, oil, incense, and special oil. But it was the priest who had the job of mixing the special oil. There was a Levite named Mattathiah who had the job of baking the bread used for the offerings. Mattathiah was Shallum's oldest son. Shallum was from the Korah family. Some of the gatekeepers who were in the Korah family had the job of preparing the bread put on the table every Sabbath. The Levites, who were singers and leaders of their families, stayed in the rooms at the temple. They did not have to do other work because they were responsible for the work in the temple day and night. All these Levites were leaders of their families. They were listed as leaders in their family histories. They lived in Jerusalem.